It's time for another blame game. Week 4 wrapped up with a bunch of the newer teams going way up in the rankings. Now we're at about the midpoint of the season and tiers are beginning to emerge between the teams. Our first topic comes to us from one of the teams that's actually hard to fit into one of those tiers. TSM lost a series 0-2 decisively to Echo Fox, with a lot of it coming off the back of Acadian. As expected, TSM fans were super salty at Bjergsen for being unable to carry the team. Hold on, what the hell? This thread was mostly full of people congratulating Echo Fox from winning and TSM fans were reacting maturely? Now, I know I say this is what you're supposed to do, but my show runs on angry, emotional fans. So don't listen to what I say. Wait, whatever. Either way, Bjergsen was still the most blamed individual in this series, so let's take a look at some of his play. In Game 1, he was on Orianna, but was mostly controlled by Echo Fox. He arguably cost Sven his life at 5 minutes in when he called for the jungler's help to push in his mid-wave. Corki is slightly favored in the matchup, so it's not insane to see Bjergsen frozen on and at low mana in the matchup, especially against Froggen. This play is honestly a little fluky because Biofrost is also roaming to support this, so it should be safe to call your jungler here to help push in. Echo Fox still forced the play and end up trading just 1-for-1, but get the first blood gold. Honestly, the rest of the game was just Echo Fox playing extremely well and converting their small advantages into huge leads. They play teamfights well, like this one where they have a pincer set up on TSM and can kill whoever they want, and they elect to kill Bjergsen so he goes down early in the teamfight, unable to get any damage out. Bjerg played okay, and DPM numbers are a horrible way to tell how well someone was doing because that would make you think that Sven somehow had a better game. In Game 2, he was doing well with a pressure and small CS advantage over Froggen in lane. He did miss a roam opportunity at 10 minutes into the game when he could have synced up with Sven to move up to the top side while sacking a wave mid to potentially make a play. This feels like a play that Summer Bjergsen would have gone for, but who knows how comms have changed and he elects not to go for it here. It's also not his fault that the actual dive goes bad, because once he decides not to roam, it's way too risky of a dive to go for without any form of a numbers advantage. The real problem this game was that Turtle was the most fed member of TSM, yet he died in the start of 2 of the most important mid-game teamfights. This gave Echo Fox the time they needed to stall out because their comp will likely outscale TSM. The most obvious back-breaking mistake for TSM, of course, was letting Echo Fox pick up a free Baron, but you can't really single anyone out for whose fault it is on TSM. To be fair, Bjergsen did miss some semi-important EQ combos, but that tends to happen in the Jace game and feels a little too nitpicky. Overall, Bjergsen played okay, though he wasn't the superstar carry we're used to seeing, but was hardly the biggest problem with this series. The draft. Our next topic comes to us once again from the struggling team Liquid. They showed a little bit of promise in their series versus Cloud9 before laying an absolute stinker of a series up against Immortals. TL fans lamented their choice of the team that they follow and also directed some hate towards Piglet. The thing about Piglet is when you look at his stats, a lot of them are decent, middle of the pack level, but not really what we were expecting from him coming into this season. The problem is that he is tied for the lowest KDA among AD carries, often due to his own horrible decision making. This meta is all about consistency coming out of the AD carry position, and Piglet is random as hell with his positioning. It's cool to see his aggressive flash Varus engages, but I would trade all of those for him being able to consistently position around objectives. I mean seriously, look at these. Piglet being one of the best AD carries in the NALCS was one of the foundations of which Team Liquid was built upon, and he's just not living up to expectations. It's not that he's just ineffective either and not performing, it's that he'll make some of the most confusing brain-dead plays you'll see. The blame for Piglet is on point. The last topic up is just a small touch on the P1 vs FlyQuest series. Phoenix 1 started the year strong, but looked like they're hitting a little bit of slump at the midpoint of this season. Intnori was a big part of their success when they were doing well, so it's no surprise to see him criticized when they're struggling, especially with the stat line he had in Game 2. This one's a little bit of a finesse two-parter. He obviously deserves blame for his performance in Game 2. He chose to prioritize pressure mid early on, and the first big mistake out of P1 wasn't really his fault. His next death right after that play definitely was his fault, however, as he was just not thinking intelligently as both teams were resetting. Vision control after a fight and reset is extremely common, but he's doing it blind and alone. This leads to an easy pickoff for FlyQuest, who are doing it grouped up together. It's obviously hard to know who's calling for this play bottom at 14:45 into the game, but Intnori is a smart enough player to know that they shouldn't be playing aggressively when FlyQuest just took their mid turret and Ryu is basically in base. A lot of his deaths actually look like this, where he's grouped up with his team, but just not really playing smart. At 17:30, there are some skirmishes in the mid lane / bottom river, but Intnori extends again trying to clear vision and gets caught baiting his team into a losing fight. So yes, he played bad this series, but I wouldn't call him Intnori. I've seen the real Intnori, the hardcore run up the mid lane suiciding and scrims Intnori. The I refused to scrim teams when he was on them because it was a waste of time Intnori. This is just a mentally defeated, slightly checked out Intnori. He's a young player with some tilt issues, and these things aren't really black and white. Some days it's a struggle, some days you're fine. This day was definitely a struggle for him, but still an improvement from where I've seen him before. This week's unsponsored High Five Comment of the Week award goes to Clink Clash Clink. I mean, this is just a really witty comment, and I think it deserves some more attention. That's gonna do it for this week's Blame Game. I apologize it came out a day late, but I lost the day with my esports love in Dash for Valentine's Day. Next week it'll be back on Wednesday, so I'll see you guys then. I made it last week, so I figure I'll mention it again. I made a Patreon for this show. If you would like to support me, I would greatly appreciate it. I haven't really filled it out with all the rewards and that stuff quite yet. When I have time, I'll do that, but until then, just check it out. Oh God. Oh, whew.